My girlfriend and I just got back from a trip from Seattle, Washington. We were there for a little under a week visiting. Well, our excuse to visit was our friend's wedding, but we spent a lot of time exploring the city, eating good food that we will certainly miss. And so if you're a Seattleite, I mean, compliments to your beautiful city. We had a wonderful time there. The people are so nice too. I mean, I expected people to be honking at me left and right driving around the city in my rental car, but not even one. Not even one person honked at me. It felt super, super welcoming. Welcome to Starpoint, the show about Go for Go fans away from the board. You know, when I think about Go and Seattle, there's one thing that comes to mind. That's the Seattle Go Center. And if you are a Nick Sibicky fan, I'm sure you've heard of it already because that's where he started his YouTube channel teaching lessons in person to DDQs. They're probably one of the more popular videos about Go on YouTube. He doesn't teach there anymore, but those videos are still up. You should check them out. So when I had this trip coming up, I knew I was going to go to Seattle. I thought, hey, it would be great to go visit the Seattle Go Center. So I did some research online, and the first thing I see is that the Seattle Go Center was closed indefinitely because of some finance issues. I think the landlord was defaulting on his payments or something like that. I got super bummed out. Looks like we're not going to be making a stop to the Seattle Go Center after all. But hey, there's plenty of other awesome places to see. And there were a lot of awesome places to see. But we had a bit of a lull, some spare time in between things that we were doing on our trip. And I thought, well, since we're not really doing anything, might as well go to the Seattle Go Center and at least take a look at the building. Maybe that's something to do. If you look up pictures of the Seattle Go Center, you'll see that it's a building with ghost stones on the wall. So, I mean, that's not something you see every day. So I thought, if it's close by, why don't we just go stop by and just take a peek and we'll be on our way. And so my girlfriend agreed. And so we punched in Seattle Go Center into Google Maps and followed the directions. Sure enough, it was only 10 to 15 minutes away. And we're making our way over, and we're entering this residential area, and I'm looking for that building that I remember from the photos, and I don't see it. I see a large building made of red brick, and I'm like, well, that's not the Seattle Go Center. And I start driving around the block. My girlfriend's like, look, there it is. There's the Seattle Go Center. I'm like, no. I know what the Seattle Go Center looks like, and that's not it. So I'm hoping that around this corner, I'll see that building that I remember seeing in the photos. And my friend visited the Seattle Go Center. He took pictures of it for me, and this isn't it. But I circle the building, and I don't see any sign of what I'm looking for. So I just park the car. And sure enough, there's to my surprise, a sign for the Seattle Go Center. One of those tiny, dinky prop-up stands. And I'm like, what? And it turns out that they'd already relocated. And that they were in that red brick building, which was some sort of community center. So we get out of the car. I'm kind of stoked, right? Because I wasn't expecting an actual club here. I was expecting just the face of a building and just to take a picture with it. But I'm actually kind of excited to see if these people are in operation. So we follow the signage. We go around the building, up the stairs. And sure enough, I see a room full of Go boards. And what a beautiful sight that is. My girlfriend and I walk in, and there's like 4 people in there, but there's plenty of Go boards. And I'm like, this is it. This is the Seattle Go Center. There's some books out in the front. There's that opening book by Otake Hidero, and a couple other books on display. And the person running the place comes up to us, greets us, welcomes us in, and asks about who we are. And when he finds out that we're not from Seattle and we're out of state, he drops all the attempts to add us to their email list and promote their upcoming tournaments and such, which is a shame. I would have loved to participate. And there's another player, or there's another member of the club who approaches us as well. And before you know it, there's me and my girlfriend, and there's two of them, and we're sitting at the Go board already playing a game. Like, I was not expecting to play a game, and my girlfriend certainly wasn't expecting to play a game. She was at the most going to watch me play. She's only played maybe 3 games in her life. But she picks up a teaching game on a 9x9 with the person who greeted us. And I pick up a game with a 6Q player. And I tell her that I'm a 3 to 4Q player, and she says, why don't I take 2 stones? And we begin a game. And it was super cool because it's like I just met these people, but as soon as the game gets going, we're already talking about technical Go stuff. We're talking about, is that a Seki or not? We're talking about, why are you not taking this co-fight? We're talking about stuff that is so like hobby centric, that like all these hobbies that you can get into have their own language that can only come out if you're really someone who spent some time in the hobby. And I think that's an awesome way to bond and just cross some barriers and have some fun with a stranger talking about stuff that you both know. And it was a great time because it was a casual game. We didn't play too long, so it fit within our schedule. And about halfway through the game, I hear, Hey, Nick, it's been a while. And I'm like, is it that Nick? Or is it just a random Nick? And I look around, and sure enough, Nick Sibicky walking into the building. And I'm like, cool. And I go back to my game. I'm trying to play a game here, so I don't really put too much attention into it, but I do focus on my next moves, aware that Nick Sibicky's here. That's kind of cool. And while I'm playing my moves, he walks over and starts watching our game. So I say, hey, I didn't expect to see you here because, I knew that Nick didn't really come out to the center anymore. He doesn't teach there anymore. So I didn't really come here expecting to find him here. But I was like, what a nice surprise. And we shake hands, and that's about it. He goes off and plays his own game with a random person coming in. So that was pretty cool. Got to meet Nick Sibicky. But what's even cooler is that he was able to just come in and play a game of Go. Most Go clubs have a very specific time and place that you need to show up at in order to pick up a game, in order for there to be enough players to play a game. Not that this Go Center was buzzing with people or anything like that, but the fact that you can show up at any odd hour and find someone willing to play a game with you, that's amazing. That's a luxury. So if you live around Seattle, I'm really jealous. Back here in Southern California, if you haven't guessed, I'm based in Southern California. If you listened to the first episode, you may have guessed that because I attended an event in Los Angeles. But we got some smaller clubs here down in SoCal. The ones I'm aware of, namely the Pasadena Go Club, which I have attended once, but that was back when They were run at the back of a Whole Foods. And now I believe they're in what, from the photos, it looks like the back of like a board game store where they have like a game room. And so there's other gamers there, but they have their Go Club section there. I do, hope to maybe visit again one day, but it's a little bit out of the way for me. And then we have the Santa Monica Go Club, where I had my first tournament, which was the Decaf Cup. They also have what's called the Coffee Cup, which is, I think, like a bigger main tournament that they have. And I think that tournament was actually set up by ex-AGA president Andy O'Kuhn. I did have the pleasure of meeting Andy O'Kuhn at that club at my first tournament. And then that one is run, the Santa Monica Go Club is run at, I think, what's called the Unurban Coffee Shop. And then we have way down south the Mission Viejo Go Club. That one I've been to twice, and those folks run it at a Panera Bread. And the person who started that club was really a go-getter, because he started the club by just determining to just sit there at the Panera Bread all by himself with the Go board in front of him until people started showing up. And sure enough, people started showing up. So that's major props to him over there. Shout out to Mission Viejo Go Club. But none of them are near as nice, materially at least, as the Seattle Go Center, with their boards upon boards, books upon books. It's just such a nice, large, private space to be working in. The only one I've seen comparable, the San Francisco Go Club, which is way up north. I did take a trip to San Francisco and happened upon it. I didn't even know it existed there. I was exploring Japantown. It's located kind of in the heart of Japantown, in one of the malls there. And I was just shocked to see a full-blown, pretty like luxurious looking Go Club. They have boards upon boards there as well. And so went to the Seattle Go Center, had a great time playing Go. I'm so glad I got to play a game of Go in person on our trip to Seattle. I didn't expect to play Go because my trip to Seattle was supposed to be like a break from Go, except for the correspondence games that I can't get away from. But I'm always down for a game of Go. So that was a really fun experience. And oh yeah, by the way, I don't know if I told you, but I don't think I did. I lost that game against the 6Q player by about 5 points. So maybe one stone handicap may be enough for her next time, if I ever run into her again. She was really good at finding Aji. She activated some scary Aji that definitely, took down a lot of my points, and I think that maybe cost me the game. Though she did also activate some Aji that didn't work, so she might be a detective-style player as well. As a small personal update, my Fox account is at 1 Dan again. Yay! My last game, my promotion game on that account was a fun one because I started off with some major Joseki mistakes, losing like 2 corners of the board. But I played my opponent because the more I played, the more I knew my opponent would be making some mistakes. You can kind of sense, right? Sometimes when you're playing someone, what kind of mistakes they may or may not make. They were taking some moves that were questionable. So I was like, you know what? There's an opportunity here. And I made that opportunity happen and took the game, killed like half the board or something like that, and took my 1 Dan game. So hopefully this 1 Dan Fox account, I can grow a little further. And now it's time for a little bit of Go news. We got a few minor updates. Sumire Nakamura joins the KBA. She is if you haven't heard of her, she's a very young Go prodigy from Japan. She's currently 14 years old, but I believe she was the youngest player to ever win a domestic women's title when she was 13 years and 11 months. So I guess 11 months is close enough to 14 years that it makes sense to point it out. Like she's just about 14. But yeah, she's moving to the KBA, the Korean Baduk Association, from the Nihon Kin. The Nihon Kin made a statement to support her in her journey. I think she seems to be making the move to put herself within a stronger pool of players. She's pretty high up there, and I think she wants to make the best of her potential. So the best of luck to her. And then we have the Transatlantic Pro Team Championship. This is a tournament that I had not heard of before, but it is ongoing. It is being held September 16th, 30th, and October 7th. So I believe it's a 3-round tournament, first of which has passed. Spoiler alert. Oh, before I spoil the results, I should explain the tournament itself. The Transatlantic Pro Team Championship is a tournament between the pros of the North America Go Federation and the European Go Federation. So we've got the Transatlantic Pro Team Championship. And the format is a 3 versus 3 per round, simultaneous. So if you've seen Hikaru no Go, imagine what what they're doing at Hikaru's first tournament at that middle school, I believe. But it's on OGS. It's online. And now comes the spoiler. North America takes the first round 3-0. So congrats to North America. Let's see if you can keep it up in the upcoming rounds with our special weapon, Michael Chen, new pro. Oh, by the way, the San Francisco Go Club, when I mentioned earlier, that's where Michael Chen became a pro. That's where they had the NAGF Pro qualifiers. Quick side note there. But yes, North America is ahead in that tournament. The last time they had this tournament was in 2019, and Europe, the EGF, defeated the North American team by 5-3 in a win and continue format. I don't know what that means. What a win and continue format means. But the point is, last time Europe won, and now North America is back for its revenge. And with that, the tournament, if you want to watch it, it's going to be on Twitch TV, twitch.tv/European Go Federation. And on those dates, September 16th, 30th, and October 7th, well, 16th you can't watch anymore, but they will be beginning at 12:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern and 6:30 p.m. European Central. And finally, with that, it's time for our very first listener mail. All right, it's pretty straightforward. Listener mail is a segment of the show where I respond to comments and messages and feedback from listeners like you. So let's get right into it. So Rach on Reddit responds to episode 2, What's Your Style of Play? And says, I just caught up on episode 2. I think we are close in playing strength. I am Fox 2Q to 1 Dan. I totally share your thoughts about being a detective style player. Watch out, I'm gonna be coming after 2 Dan here. So let's see if you can keep up. Again, I totally share your thoughts about being a detective style player. I also prefer my opponent to make a mess and start fights. In games where everything is peaceful, I often don't know what to do without some attack targets, weak groups, invasions, etc. Looking forward to this new episode. Well, thanks for writing in, Rach. That's Ray TSH. Yes, I 100%. I hate those like stagnant games where I need to just guess with my terrible territorial intuition where the next biggest point is without having any kind of tension. It's just what I prefer. I wonder if there's any people out there who just prefer like a fully stable game. Actually, I feel like most people would prefer the tense games. Could be wrong. Let me know. Own Zookeeper Game writes in on episode 3, Go, Etiquette, Rudeness, and Metagaming. Hey, I just listened to your 3rd episode and thought I wanted to share a strange etiquette story that I experienced. It was at an EGF rated tournament and a rapid game. I didn't know they had like different time formats like rapid. I don't know what rapid means. Anyway, the game was rather uneventful. I was 2Q at the time and my opponent 1Q. Around the end of the game, I counted that I was ahead by around Komi. Not much, but with a settled board, a very secure win. We play Japanese rules, so eventually I passed and my opponent said, well, let's just fill the dame so it's easier to count, and played a dame move and hit his clock. At this point, I started to just blitz out stones without any thinking to fill the neutral points, until one of them put me in a shortage of liberties, and suddenly, my opponent plays a cut within my position. After analyzing later, it turned out it was nothing, but with little time left, and being absolutely bamboozled that my opponent picked up the game again after we basically agreed that it was over, I crumbled and lost the game on the spot. Hold on, I'm missing something here. Suddenly, my opponent plays a cut. After analyzing later, it turned out it was nothing, but you lost on the spot. So I'm not sure exactly what caused you to lose on the spot. Maybe there was maybe you resigned prematurely, or I'm missing something here and something happened on the board where you lost a bunch of stones. Anyway, continue with reading. I was and am still unsure what to think of that. If my opponent just played that neutral point to ask me whether I want to connect, I definitely would have, because I was sufficiently ahead to sacrifice a point. But picking up the game after quote-unquote filling dame felt like very dirty meta to squeeze rating points out of a lost game. Eventually my opponent won all their games and promoted to 1 dan. Now look, here's my take on this. Your opponent said, well, let's just fill the dame so it's easier to count. And then this happened. I think that's not cool. But at the same time, why are you guys still hitting your clocks when you're filling in the dame? At least in my experience, what happens is when you agree the game is over and you're about to count, you're not playing anymore. You're just filling in the dame to make it easier to count. So it's kind of like you're in this gray area where you're hitting the clock like you're playing the actual game, but at the same time you're like playing dame to make it easier to count. Which one is it, right? So if this person didn't say anything and just played the dame and just continued to play, then that's totally on you. But the fact that your opponent said, let's just fill the dame so it's easier to count, I think that's kind of dirty and misleading. I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know. Thanks for writing in, Owl Zookeeper Game. Ludflu also comments on Reddit, episode 3, Go, Etiquette, Rudeness, and Metagaming. I really appreciated your episode, Etiquette and the Master of Go. Looking forward to this one too. It brought to mind 2 episodes from my own Go playing experience. Number 1, I played at a tournament at Princeton and was paired with a young guy who insisted on slamming the stones down onto the board so hard that it rattled the table and made all the stones move slightly off the intersections where they were sitting. I politely asked him if he could be more gentle, and he just flatly refused. I should probably just have resigned rather than put up with it, but I was dead set on finishing the game, though it destroyed my nerves. I think there's a certain kind of person or person going through a certain phase in life when they're not really able to see the person across the table from them as a person. Hopefully they grow out of it. Well, that sounds pretty rude, and you have these options of continuing to play or resign, but you know what I would have done? If it's really that hard enough to move the stones from their intersections, I would have called the tournament director and said, hey, this is not cool. I can't play like this. That's That's got to be not cool. You can't just do whatever you want. There's stuff within reason. Obviously, if you're clicking the stones down a little annoyingly, a little hard, then you got to deal with that. But if it's that hard and that, like, I don't know. It seems kind of... I also played a young guy, and we may have different opinions on what a young guy is. But I also played a young fella who slammed their stones down. Not enough to move any of the stones, but they were pretty loud smacks. But I don't think that it's the classiest way to play, to slam your stones down, every move especially. I think that when you put your moves down, the moves should speak for themselves, you know. But yes, that sounds like a very annoying experience. I'm sorry you had to go through it. Their second example, yesterday I played a game on OGS with another young guy from Xi'an, China. I'm middle-aged and from East Coast USA. Hey, maybe I'm a young guy. Despite the differences in age, nationality, culture, etc., we had a really nice conversation and learned a little bit about what it was like to be in the other person's shoes. I don't know another game that brings people together thousands of times a day from such vastly different places and allows them to find some common ground to appreciate each other's humanity. Truly, it is a beautiful game, and I'm grateful to whoever invented it and the many people who make it feel like a global community showing their kindness and respect. I 100% agree. It's exactly what I was talking about earlier in this episode. It's such a cool thing. It's like a language, right? It's a thing that you can learn, and anyone else who learns it, you get to kind of commune with. It's cool. It's cool stuff. So yeah, thanks so much for writing in, Lead Flu. And if you have anything you want to share about anything in particular, about an episode or anything that you want to share at all, feel free to DM me on Reddit or shoot an email to starpointbaduk@gmail.com. That's starpointbaduk@gmail.com. And if you want something for your brain to munch on, the question of the week here today is, have you ever connected with a stranger over Go? What was your experience like? A little bit of a prompt. You don't have to write about that. Anything will do. And with that, thanks for listening, and a special thanks to commenters, contributors, reviewers. It seems like some of you are enjoying the content to some degree, and that's all I can hope for. Keep playing Go, and I'll see you next time.